Bonjour! Now in today's video we are going to build a hamburger menu. So currently we have this navigation that you see here, but what we want is that when this screen reaches a specific width, we want to transform this navigation bar to a hamburger menu, because in my opinion this looks way cleaner. So that is what we are going to build in today's video. Alright, so we created this navigation bar that you see here in this component called NavBar, and basically this is just an unordered list containing some links. Now we created this in the video that pops up somewhere here above, and I will also place a link in the description. So if you want to know how we have created this, then I would suggest to watch the just mentioned video, because we won't repeat those steps here. Alright, that being said, let's start creating the hamburger menu. So basically we want two types of navigations: a normal navigation for laptop and desktop users, and a mobile navigation for mobile users. So therefore we will create two new files. We will create a new file called navigation.js, and this will be a stateless function component called navigation. And for now, inside here we just return an empty string. And we will create another new file. We give that file the name mobile navigation, and this will also be a JavaScript file, and it will also be a stateless function component, and we give it the name mobile navigation. And also here for now we simply return a string, or I mean an empty string. Alright, now if you think about it, and when we go to the browser again, then both navigations should use the same links. So the mobile navigation should use these links that you see here, but also our normal navigation. So I think a good idea will be that we copy this here. We copy this unordered list that we see here, and this contains all the links. So we copy it, and then we remove it here. And let's also remove the nav tags. And then we will create another new file, and we give that file the name navlinks.js, which will also be a stateless function component, which we give the name navlinks. And then inside here we just paste our unordered list that contains the navigation links. Alright, so we created this component called navlinks because this allows us to reuse these links inside our two new navigations. And if you watched my previous videos, then you know that there are three important things if you want to inject a component inside another component. And the first thing we need to do is that we need to export the component that we want to inject. So we do that via this line that you see here. And then you go to the component where you want to use the navlinks component. So the second thing that you need to do is import. And then you say navlinks, and you can give it any name you like, from, and then the path to the component, which is navlinks, and then you can inject it in here like this. And now we have injected this navlinks component inside our mobile navigation, and we will do the same in our normal navigation. We import it, and then in here we do this. Alright, and for now let's surround this with the nav tag. So this will come in handy later on when we are going to style things a bit. And we give this the name, class name, classes.navigation. And we will do the same in the mobile navigation component. And then the closing tag. However, we don't give this the class name navigation, but we give it the class name mobile navigation. Alright, so what have we done so far? We have created two new components, a normal navigation component and a mobile navigation component. And both components reuse the navlinks that you see here, and in the other component you see it here. So what we have done is that we have also created a component called navlinks, and we do that so we can reuse them inside our mobile navigation and inside our normal navigation. However, if we now go to the browser, then we don't see any navigation at all. And that is because we also need to inject these newly created components inside our NavBar components. So what I mean with this is that we have this NavBar component here. However, we need to inject our mobile navigation here and our normal navigation. So what we first need to do is we need to import it. So we say import mobile navigation from /mobile navigation. And then we can inject it in here like this. And we do the same for the normal navigation. So we remove the mobile part. And here we also remove the mobile part. And we do the same here. Alright, so if we now go to the browser and we refresh it, we see, what is this here? Ah, yeah. Because we have specified a class name here like this, we need to import the CSS. And where is it? This is the CSS line, because this is our CSS file, navbar.module.css. So we have to replace it with this one. And we have to do the same here. Alright, and if we now go to the browser and we refresh it, we see the navbar 2 times, and no, we are not drunk. The thing is that this happens because we injected the normal navigation and we injected the mobile navigation. So the first one is the normal navigation and the second one is the mobile navigation. So here we see our first small problem. We see two navigations, the normal navigation and the mobile navigation. Now, if you watch my video about making a website responsive, and the link will pop up somewhere here above, and I will also place it in the description, then you probably know that we can fix this inside our CSS. So if we go to our CSS file, and if you hopefully remembered is that we gave our mobile navigation the class name mobile navigation. So what we can do is that inside our CSS we can say .navbar.mobile navigation, and as a default behavior we don't want to display our mobile navigation at all. So we can say display none. Now if we now go to our website and we refresh it, we still see it. I made a typo. So if we now go to our website and we refresh it, then we are sober again, because now we only see one navigation, and that is the normal navigation. But now comes the fun part, because we can now say that this is all fine. However, when our screen reaches a width of, let's say, 990 pixels, then we don't want to show our normal navigation, but instead we want to show our mobile navigation. And we can do that with the help of media queries. So we can say add media, and when our screen reaches a width of, let's say, 990 pixels, what we then want is that we don't want to show our normal navigation. So here we say display none. However, we do want to show our mobile navigation. So then we can say display, and let's say display flex for now. So we convert this to a flex container. And let's give it a background color of red. Alright, so if we now go to the browser and we refresh it, and if we make the screen a bit smaller, then somewhere here, yeah, we see now this background is red, so now the mobile navigation kicks in. Alright, so let's place this on the left and this on the right. Maybe make the Visual Studio Code a bit wider. something like this. And now we are going to create this mobile navigation right here. So first of all, we want to add a hamburger icon to this mobile navigation. Now there are several ways to create a hamburger icon. For instance, you can create your own via CSS. However, we will use React Icons for this. Now if we go to our packets.json, where is that file here? And then here we see that we have already installed React Icons. So we have already done that in a previous video. So we don't have to install it here again. But if you need to install it for the first time, then you go to the path where your project is stored inside the terminal. And then you type in npm install react-icons. And when you press enter, then React Icons will be installed. And you eventually see it in your packets.json. So you see a line like this. Alright, now once you have installed that, you can go to react-icons.github.io, and in here we can search for a nice icon that we want to use. So we search for menu, and yeah, you can pick any hamburger icon or any menu icon that you like. Yeah, we will pick this one, so when you click on it, it is copied. And if you then go to your code, and let's close everything, close all, and then we go to our mobile navigation. Alright, so we are now in our mobile navigation, and then we can say import, and then we paste the name, and then we can say from React-icons, and then we say the first two letters of the name of our icon. So in our case, this will be CG. And then we can use that icon inside here. So what we can do is we can simply do this. What the hell? And we say CG menu round. So the name of the icon that you see here. And we give it a class name for now. Wait, let's make this a bit larger. So we give this a class name for now because that will be handy later on. And we say classes dot. Let's give this the name hamburger. And then we give it a size of, let's say, 40 pixels and a color of white. And then we close it. Alright, now if we now go to the browser, then we see the icon right here on the left. Alright, so let's now center this icon vertically, and I think you don't see it that good here, but what we can do is we can go to the CSS file, and then we can say align this items center, and this centers the hamburger icon vertically, and we can use this because we have converted this to a flexbox container. Alright, so what we now want to do is that we want to position this hamburger icon that you see here all the way to the right. So what we can then do is we have given this icon the class name hamburger, so we can go to our CSS and we can copy this, and then we say dot hamburger, and then we can give it the position of absolute, and then we can say place it all the way to the right. So if we now refresh it, we see that the icon is placed all the way to the right. However, we want to push it a bit off to the left, so therefore we can say here instead of 0 we say 5%, so it will be pushed 5% more to the left. And yeah, now we have this, and if we hover over this icon here, we don't get a nice pointer, so therefore we can simply do cursor pointer. And I see a typo here, it is not cursor, but it is cursor. And if we refresh it and we hover over it, we see a nice pointer. So that's quite nice, I think. Now we want to make this icon clickable. So what we want is that when the user clicks on this icon, then it should show the menu. So therefore we go to our mobile navigation again. and let's press enter. And therefore we can simply do this. We can say onClick equals, and then we can specify a function, and this function will be executed every time that someone clicks on the icon. So for now we can say console.log, and then we say you clicked on the icon, my friend. So we have something like this. Maybe I have to make this a bit larger so you see the whole code. So this gives us the following functionality. When the user clicks on the icon, the function inside this onClick event handler is executed. So if we now go to the website and we open up developer tools, let's make this a bit smaller. Let's go to the console. So what we can now see is that when the user clicks on this icon, we see, I want to point with my finger, but you cannot see that. So if I click on the icon here, then you see that it prints, you clicked on the icon, my friend. Alright, but we don't want this function to be executed, we want more. Because somehow we need to keep track of this clicking state. So we want to know when a user clicks on this icon, since then we want to show the menu, and when the user clicks again on this icon, the menu should close. So in order to get this done, we can use the useState hook from React, and therefore we need to import that first. So we can say import useState from React. And then here, what is this? This should be React. Yeah, like this. And then inside our component, we can call the useState hook. So we can say useState. And this returns two values. And the first value is the state. Now we give this the name open, but you can give it any name you like. And this is a Boolean value, so it can be true or false. And the second value is a function, and we give this the name setOpen. And with this function, you can change the state. So yeah, we can say equals, and then inside this useState hook, we can specify a default value or a starting value. And in our case, that will be false, of course. All right, now we can call this setOpen function inside our onClick event handler. So we can simply say that when the user clicks on the icon, it should flip the current state. So as a default value, this will be false. However, inside here, we can remove this. And when the user clicks on the icon, we want to flip the state. So we give it an exclamation mark, and then we say open. So yeah, what this basically does is that if it is false the first time you click on it, then it will be flipped to true. And if you click on it again, the value is true, but then it is flipped and the value will be false. So yeah, I hope this makes sense. It isn't that difficult, I think. All right, and now we can simply do, and then we can say if the value open is true, then we want to show the nav links, and otherwise we want to do nothing. So if we now go to the browser and we refresh it, then you see when we click it, it pops up. And when we click it again, it is gone. Bam, bam. All right, so now we can also do more fancy stuff. For instance, what we can do is that we can show another icon when the menu is open. So let me show you what I mean with this. So we go again to our React icons. And there we search for something like close. Yeah, and then you pick any icon you like. I will copy this one here. And then we say import name of the icon from, and this will be the same path. All right, and let's copy this and remove it here. And we will give it the name const Hamburger Icon equals, and then we place this stuff inside here. All right, and what we can now do is that here we have this other icon, this closing icon. So we can simply copy this whole code here. And then we rename this to close icon or close button. I don't know. You can give it a name you prefer. And then we change this to this. And what we then can do is when the value open is true, then it should show the close icon. Otherwise, it should show the hamburger icon. So let's now go to the browser. Let's refresh it. And let's make this a bit smaller. All right, now when we click it, the value open is set to true. And this changes the icon that you see here to a close icon. All right, so now we are almost there. However, we need to style this mobile navigation a bit. And this is something which we will do in the CSS file. So we will go to navbar.css. All right, so first of all, let's remove this red background that we see here. And then we want to style the links that we see here. So what we can do is we can say inside our breakpoint here, or inside our media query, we can say .navbar nav ul, and this is the path to the unordered list. And we can say display flex, so we convert it to a flex container. And then we can say flex direction column. And then all the items inside the list will be placed vertically, as you see here. So not horizontally, but vertically. And what we can then say is position absolute. And what we can then do is, because our navbar has a height of 80 pixels, so we can say we want to push this 80 pixels more to the bottom. And if we refresh it and we click it, then we see that it's placed exactly below this navbar here. All right, and we want to place it all the way to the right. So we say right 0. And then we can give it a width of, let's say, 100%. And then we refresh it and we see this. So now we can give it a background color of 181818. And if we now click it, we see this. All right, and I think what also will be nice is this. So we can say border top. And then we want to give it a border of 2 pixels, solid. And as a color, we will use this color here. All right, let's refresh it. And now we see this. Now I think we can give it a little padding on the left, so it will be pushed more to the right. So what we can then do is .navbar nav unordered list, and then all the list items inside this unordered list, we want to push that a bit more to the right. So we can say padding left 15%. Let's refresh it, and then we have something like this. And I think what also is nice, if we give the navbar an opacity of 1. So if we now refresh it, then we see this. And I think this looks nice, only when we maybe have to zoom it in a bit. So I think when we hover over this, that it doesn't look very nice here, that we see this line at the bottom. So what we can then do is we can say .navbar and then h.hover, and then we say border bottom none. Refresh it. Now we don't see any hover at all. So what we can then do is give it a color. I mean, we don't see any hover effect at all. So I think it will be nice if we give the text a color of purple-ish. So if we refresh it and we hover over it, then we have this. And I think this looks pretty nice. However, we still have a problem, because if we now click on a link here, then what we see is that it goes very nicely to the section. However, it should close the navigation. So what we want is that when you click on a link, that it should also close the navigation, exactly like we have here when we click on the icon. And that is something which we are going to fix now. Now we can fix this relatively easy. So we first go to our navlinks component. And in here we type props. So now this navlinks component accepts some props. Or in other words, we now specified that our navlinks component is able to accept some additional parameters. And then inside our mobile navigation, we can do the following. So let's make this a bit wider. So inside our mobile navigation, we can specify a function. So we can say const close mobile menu. So we can say this is a function from nothing that sets the value open to false. So this value here will be set to false. And what we can then do is we can pass some props, or we can pass some arguments to the navlinks component here. So first of all, we can say is mobile is true. And then we can say close mobile menu is, and we give it this const here. So we paste this in here. Alright, and then inside our navlinks component, we can then specify an onClick event handler on all the list items. So what we can do is that we can say onClick equals, and then in here we specify the function that should be executed when someone clicks on the list item. So we can say when props.isMobile is set to true, then it should execute the close mobile menu. So we place parentheses behind this. And yeah, the same onClick event handler should be placed inside all the list items. Alright, so we have this. Now I can imagine that this is still a bit vague. So let me explain you how this works. In the mobile navigation inside this component, we specified this function that you see here. Now this const close mobile menu is basically a reference to this function. So it isn't executed yet, it is a reference. So when we pass this close mobile menu reference to this component, to this navlinks component, the function isn't executed yet. So when we go to the navlinks, then we see here the onClick event handler, and this accepts a function. And what this does is when the props.isMobile is set to true, then it executes the function. So in short, this is a reference to the function, but it isn't executed yet. It is executed inside our navlinks component, but only when the props.isMobile is set to true. So if we now go to the website and we refresh it, and we open our mobile menu, and for instance we click on the About Me, then we see that it goes to the About Me section, and the navigation menu, or the hamburger menu, is closed. Alright, so I hope this makes sense. Now we still have a little bit of bonus material if you like. If you don't like it, then you can skip the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, of course. Yeah, that's a joke, you can do whatever you like. But we will apply some nice animations to this navlinks component here. And we will use frame motion for this. Now, if you haven't watched my previous videos, then I highly encourage you to watch that one, because there we explained frame motion in a nutshell. So we basically explained how it works and stuff like that. And we won't repeat it in here. And I will place a link to the videos in the description. So yeah, in order to use framer motion, we need to import motion from framer motion, from framer-motion, and then we can convert each list item to a motion element. So yeah, we can simply say convert the list item to a motion component. So we place this in front of the opening tag, and we have to do the same for the closing tags. Alright, and then in here we will specify a object, and we give it the name animate from, and this will have a opacity of 0 and a y value of -40. And we will also specify an animate2 object, and we give that an opacity of 1 and a y value of 0. And then because we have converted the list item to a motion element, we can give it some props. So we can give it a initial props, and then we give it our animate from. Now I won't cover all the details, then again you should watch my other videos, but it isn't that difficult, I think, so hopefully you can follow it a bit. And then we give it the animate from object, and when we convert the list item to a motion component, we can give it animate props. So here we can say we give the object animate2. So what this basically does is, this is the starting value, so it should animate from an opacity of 0 with a y value of -40. Now this y -40 means that it should place the element 40 pixels higher than its original position, and then it should animate to an opacity of 1 and to the original position as we have specified in our CSS file. And yeah, this we will place inside all the list items. So we can do this. Alright, let's format it. Alright, and if we now go to the browser and we refresh it, then we see something like this. But what we can do is that we can specify a delay. So we can say transition, and then we can give it a delay of, let's say, 0.05. And here for the second list item, we give it an delay of 0.10. For the third, 0.20. And for the one next, for the next one, 0.30. And for the last one, 0.40. And if we now go to the browser and we refresh it and we click on it, we see this nice effect. So yeah, when we don't see the mobile navigation and we refresh it, we also see this effect, and in my opinion this looks also nice. I keep it this way, but you can decide yourself if you like this animation or not. Alright, so that was it for today's video. We created a nice hamburger menu, so when the screen reaches a width of 990 pixels or lower, this hamburger menu pops in. So yeah, when we click on it, it opens up, and if we click on a link, it closes, or when we click on it and we click on the icon again, it closes. So yeah, that's basically what we created in today's video. I hope you like it, and I'll see you in the next video.